It's Victory Monday, Vikings fans, and oh, it feels so very good. And I just got one ask for you guys. If you still believe in this Minnesota Vikings team, just like this freaking video. Let's try to get up to 500 likes because I certainly still believe. And now after this, we're going to be diving into the latest overreactions from the Vikings 21-13 win over the Panthers. What's going on, Vikings fans? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and like I said, it is Victory Monday, and we're gonna be diving into some of the top overreactions from the Vikings, obviously handling business in Carolina and coming out with a 21-13 victory. If you take a look at the stat sheet here, real quick, listen, from the Vikings side of things, offensively, like Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, like their numbers aren't really going to blow you away like they did in the past couple of weeks. I mean, the first 3 weeks of the year, Kirk was going for over 350, 3 touchdowns. Jefferson was going for 150. But yesterday, it was a totally different script. Kirk only threw for 139 yards, had the 2 interceptions, which we'll get into here in a second. But Madison and Cam Akers actually had the run game going pretty well. From the Panther side of things, Bryce Young, he was incredibly accurate for most of the day. We obviously saw Adam Thielen get going there a lot in the first half. He had over 76 yards for the Carolina Panthers team, and I swear, I was so nervous. It was going to be the fourth quarter. Panthers were going to have a game-winning touchdown drive, and they were going to connect to number 19 there in Carolina, but obviously did not end up happening. The Vikings got a victory. But the number one storyline and number one takeaway from this game, Harrison Smith. He is 100% back. Harry probably had one of his best games of his entire NFL career yesterday. You know, Brian Flores, we talked about it coming into this offseason, like using Harry off the edge a lot more is something that I wanted them to do. And that's what they did yesterday. Harrison Smith from the safety position had 3 sacks, 14 tackles, a forced fumble, and 2 TFLs. And if you guys remember in that third quarter, the Carolina Panthers, they were driving down the field. And, it was 13-7. A lot of the hope for this Vikings, or a lot of the optimism that we had during the watch party was about to be gone. And then Harrison Smith came off the edge, had a forced fumble. DJ Wanham took it the other way for 6, and it completely changed the tone of this game. But this is how you use Harrison Smith. This is what was so frustrating with Ed Donatel last season. They just used Harrison Smith as just a typical, normal safety. He's so much more than that. He can come off the edge like he did yesterday and have 3 sacks and have this incredible play knocking the ball out of Bryce Young's hands, which completely flipped the script of this game. This is how you use him, and I want the Vikings to continue to do so. And if we look at the safety room for a second, I want to touch on Lewis Cine here for a little bit because he wasn't even active yesterday, and it's just incredibly disappointing. And listen, Lewis Cine, like the whole problem with him was just, getting on the field. And that's the thing with also a guy like Andrew Booth as well. And I think Cine and Booth from that draft class last season are starting to look like massive busts. So, like, those were the first 2 picks last year. Neither of them play in year 2. I think that's incredibly concerning. But obviously, like the Vikings safety room, you still have Cam Bynum, who's played well this year. Harrison Smith is coming off his best game since probably 2018 or damn near. Josh Metellus was okay yesterday, but I think this Vikings safety room, they're almost lucky that Cam Bynum and Harrison Smith has been stepping up, so they're not really seeing the impact of missing, on that first-round pick with Lewis Cine. But credit to Harrison Smith, credit to 22, he balled out. Number 2 for me is Marcus Davenport. Welcome to the season. Marcus Davenport was fantastic yesterday, and oh boy did the Vikings edge group need this. The Vikings edge group has completely struggled in getting pressure this season, and a lot of that had to do with obviously Marcus Davenport, not being there. But yesterday he had 1 sack, and he was active in the run game as well. He had a ton of TFLs, and it only attributed to 1, but it felt like he was in there on almost every single run play, had 4 tackles, and we really saw that impact of having Marcus Davenport in the lineup. And PFF coming into this game, the Vikings ranked dead last in their edge group in their overall grade. But you add a guy like Marcus Davenport with a guy like Danielle Hunter, I think the Vikings could actually have a solid pass rush this season. You have those 2 dudes on the edge. They can pin their ears back, meet at the quarterback like Everson Griffin or Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter used to say last season. Maybe they could catch some of that magic with Marcus Davenport. And overall, I think we saw his defense this defense just take another step yesterday with having, number 0 in the lineup. Holding the Panthers offense to no touchdowns, only giving up 232 yards, 3.4 yards per play. I mean, Bryce Young, if you attribute the sacks and all, he only threw for 149 yards, holding them to 2.7 yards per carry, even with being on the football field for damn near 40 minutes. Credit to this Vikings team. Just feels good to have Marcus Davenport back, because I was telling my dad when I got off the phone with him the other day, I was like, Davenport might be one of the biggest bust free agent signings that we had for the Vikings in recent history. Turns out he's an absolute stud. Shout out to him. But with Marcus Davenport being back in this lineup, what is your confidence level in this Vikings defense? They struggled a lot during week 2 and week 3. Couldn't really stop the Eagles' run game. Couldn't stop Herbert and that air attack in Los Angeles. What is your confidence level now after watching them yesterday versus the Panthers? Scale it for me, 1 through 10. Number 3 was Kirk Cousins was just off yesterday. It was obviously nothing like the first 3 weeks. And it's so funny how this Vikings season has started to unfold here. It's like, oh, Kirk Cousins plays really good like he did in the first 3 weeks, the Vikings lose. And then on the completely opposite side of it, Kirk Cousins plays all right, and the Vikings end up winning. And that was the story yesterday. First drive of the game, Kirk Cousins is driving down the field. He has this deep post route to Jordan Addison, gets a PI. Vikings are on the 5-yard line. He throws an out route or a flat route to KJ Osborne, ends up being a pick 6 taken to your house. And I was in absolute shambles when that happened. But in the first 3 weeks of the season, Kirk was fantastic, going over 350 and 3 in every game. And then obviously today is kind of the other side of things. Yesterday, other side of things. He was meh, and the Vikings end up getting a win. Kind of shows you quarterback wins are not the most best stat to judge a QB's play. But before we get into more takeaways, I do want to give a huge shout out to Game Time. But if you guys plan on going to any music, concert show, or whatever it may be, or the next Vikings-Chiefs game, make sure you guys do it with Game Time and use the code VikingsChat, and you guys will get $20 off your first purchase. So download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. See the view from your seat before you even buy the ticket, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal without hidden fees. Buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. And hey, my favorite part about Game Time is you actually get to see the view from the seat you plan on buying. And I'll tell you what, Vikings fans, you got the defending Super Bowl champs coming to town. You got Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, and you also got Taylor Swift coming to town, maybe heading to Minnesota. So if you guys want to be at that game, make sure you guys get hooked up with Game Time and use the code VikingsChat to get $20 off your first purchase. I'll make sure to put that link for you guys in the comment section and the description of today's video. That's one more time. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code VikingsChat for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code VikingsChat for $20 off your first purchase. My fourth overreaction from the Vikings absolutely, or not absolutely dominating, but getting the first win in Carolina was this guy, Justin Jefferson. It's incredible how he has continued to impress me week to week. And he had another great game yesterday. He went over 80 yards, had 2 touchdowns. And I'm going to say this, and it may be a hot take, but I really don't think it is. I fully believe Justin Jefferson is the second best player in the NFL behind Patrick Mahomes. I know you're saying, well, the quarterback is such a more important position, and I get that. And you can even make an argument for edge rusher. You could go a guy like Burrow, Allen, and those guys are fantastic. But what Jefferson has done for this Vikings team over the past 2 seasons, he was 5th in MVP votes last year, went for over 150 yards in the first 3 games of the NFL season. And then yesterday, when game's on the line, Kirk Cousins draws the Panthers defender off sides. He sees Jefferson running a streak route, just gives 18 a chance, ended up getting 7 and absolutely sunning the Carolina Panthers DB. I think what he does for this Vikings offense and just this overall Vikings team is absolutely fantastic. Jefferson, you are the second best player in the NFL, and I don't really think it's a hot take. Number 5 for me, we can go a little negative here. Where is Dalton Risner? Obviously, the Vikings did end up signing, Dalton Risner, and I'm not really sure of what to make of him not being in the lineup because we always talk about interior of the Vikings offensive line. That was the issue throughout the first 3 weeks, especially in pass protection. The Eagles front got home a lot. Even we saw the Chargers interior get home a lot and bother Kirk Cousins, and especially week 1. Vita Vea had one of his best games of his NFL career going up against that Vikings interior offensive line. So I'm not sure of what to make of it. Maybe it has to do with Ed Ingram picking up his play a little bit because, listen, week 3, even though he was bad in pass protection, he was phenomenal in the run game. Like, he scored 90-plus overall, according to PFF, in the run game, which made his total to even out to 81.5. This past week against Carolina, Ed Ingram was 64.1, which was decent, but in comparison to his first 2 weeks, his last 2 weeks have been way, way better. But this would be my dream Vikings offensive line if I had to choose it. I've said it. Obviously, you got the tackles, Darisaw and O'Neal. They're great at what they do. But then Ezra Cleveland, who's been fantastic this year, and then Garrett Bradbury at center. Obviously, he's been dealing with injuries. We've seen Schlottman in there. But I would go Dalton Reisner over Ed Ingram 100%. I just think, with the Vikings, what they want to do offensively, I would rather, offset the maybe not as good of run blocking with Dalton Reisner to get that upgrade in the pass blocking department. That's just personally what I would do. But this would be my dream offensive line. It's just going to be interesting to see if we finally get to see the Mr. Reisner suit up for the purple and gold this Sunday. But speaking about this Sunday, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. And I haven't been more excited for a football game in my life because this could completely change the Vikings season. You go beat Kansas City at home, and you're sitting at 2-3, and you can sit back and say, you know what? First 3 weeks, ball didn't bounce our way. We were sloppy with the football. We are a talented but flawed football team. You go beat Kansas City, get to 2-3. You got Chicago the week after, and you could get to 500 with the 49ers coming to US Bank Stadium on that Monday night. Completely change the season. So if you want the Vikes to beat the Chiefs, give me a skull down in the comment section. And also, you guys can give me a follow on Twitter as well, and I'll make sure to give you guys a follow back. My Twitter handle, @PatSiepes. Make sure to put that link for you guys in the comment section and the description of today's show. Vikes get a win. First win of the season. Feels so good. Can't wait for the Vikes to beat the Chiefs next week. See y'all next time. Skol Vikes.